Order the May 10th, 2021 Henderson County Board of Public Education Board meeting. Would all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance
to the flag, States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Welcome, everyone. It is really exciting to actually see people in front of us for the first time in a very, very, very long time.
Very weird.
So thank you for coming today. We certainly appreciate it. The first thing up is going to be the agenda approval, and I'll take a motion to approve that agenda as submitted.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second? Second, Mr. Bridges. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved. Recognitions, Dr. Bryant, if you would.
Mr. Craven, members of the board, thank you so very much. This is a special meeting for us in May because we have the opportunity to do some very, very important recognitions. And the first of those is an opportunity for us to honor the young men and women who are choosing a career in our armed forces and our military service and are truly serving our country in one of the most powerful and profound ways. This is an opportunity for us to say thank you to them for what makes our country so very special, to say thank you to them and their families for serving and supporting in this choice. And really, it's an opportunity for us to say how proud we are as citizens of this country that children in our community are choosing to take up that flag and represent it all over our globe. And so it is a real honor at this particular time to recognize those students and families across the school system who are choosing to serve in one of the branches of the United States Armed Forces. And so at this time, what I'd like to do is recognize those students, ask those students and their families who are with us today to stand when I call their name. I'm going to recognize all students across our school system, even those who are not able to be here with us today, because we recognize how very important this honor and this recognition is, and that we might all honor them here together today. And so with that said, first from the Henderson County Career Academy, Brenton Gillespie will be serving in the United States Air Force. From the Henderson County Career Academy, Nolan Kennedy, serving in the National Guard. Noah McCravey, also serving in the National Guard. Thomas Crossman, serving in the United States Marines. From East Henderson High School, Deep Patel, serving in the United States Marine Corps. Destiny Sexton, serving in the United States Marines and United States Air Force. Rihanna Ward Chapman, United States Air Force. Bailey Whitehurst, United States Marine Corps. Grayson Kell, United States Air Force. From Hendersonville High School, John Jack Ross, be serving at the Citadel. Sebastian Silvers, United States Army. Remington Pearson, United States Army. Wiley Cochran, United States National Guard. From North Henderson High School, Lucas Barnwell, United States Marines. Maribel Canellis, United States Air Force. Joshua Carter, United States Air Force. Logan Locklear, United States Army. Joseph Owen, United States Air Force. Jonathan Pisena, Army National Guard. Tyler Riddle, United States Army. Sidney Swanner, United States Air Force. Shaban Tovar, United States Navy. From West Henderson High School, Jake Baker, United States Marines. Zachary Henby, United States Air Force. Lucas London, United States Air Force. Gabriel Sanders, United States Marines. Michael Sidorovic, United States Marines. And Michael Rogers, United States Army. Would any members of the board like to say any words to these young people who are serving our great nation?
Thank you, and thanks for the parents that came out today. We certainly appreciate your service, especially in a crazy year that we've had here. And you guys are the best that we have in Henderson County Public Schools, and I really thank all of you for taking that choice to go to the Marines, Army, Air Force, the Reserves, Coast Guard, and one Citadel, I believe we have there. So thank you guys very, 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 very much.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
All right, thank you, Dr. Brandt.
Absolutely. Thank you, board members, for that recognition opportunity. We have a secondary recognition that we would like to make to a woman who has given her heart, her soul, and her service to this system. And in fact, she's trained one superintendent and spent some time training a second one. And I'm really proud to say that the first one she trained is here with us today. In honor of the extraordinary Kathy Johnson. She serves as both the executive administrative assistant to the superintendent and to the Board of Education. But in so many ways, we know that Kathy is the glue. She is the person that keeps us on the rails. She keeps us reminded, in the know, and makes sure that each of you have what you need, you're where you need to be, when you need to be there, with exactly the right resources. And anytime someone who has spent 3 decades with the school system is retiring, we lose someone and something very, very special. We lose someone who understands how we work, how we serve, and someone who represents the heartbeat of our school system. And we are so very fortunate. I have been so very blessed to spend the last several months with Kathy. She has been so kind and gracious and patient with me, frequently saying, "Kathy, I have no idea how this is done. Can you please share that with me?" And frequently she'll step right into the office and coach us right up. But we are so very grateful, and we celebrate the retirement that is on the horizon at the end of the month. This is Kathy's last Board of Education meeting. She will be wrapping up at the end of the month. Exactly. She's not celebrating or anything. But if I could, we have a special gift for Kathy.
Big old bag.
I'm going to ask Kathy to come up with me for a second. Kathy, come right here for one moment. I took a basket weaving class. No, in all seriousness, Kathy and I, when she first told me that she was ready to retire, I was heartbroken, and I said, "How could you?" And I cried, and therapy and these kinds of things ensued. But she said, "All Wes and I have been trying to do is just make sure we have enough for coffee for every day of our retirement life." So we just want to make sure she didn't.
Oh my God! A little bit of coffee.
This is a basket full of K-cups. And so we want to take care, Wes, we're taking care of you back here. Exactly.
That's awesome.
We have a basket full of K-cups to just every day that Kathy is in retirement and has an opportunity to enjoy a cup of coffee, she needs to know that Henderson County Public Schools and her Henderson County Public Schools family is there with her, celebrating one cup at a time. And so we hope these coffees make it a little while with you.
Thank you.
Yes, let's give Kathy a round. Yeah, you want to say something? Yes, she does. Go ahead.
I'm not a public speaker, but I do want to say thank you for the opportunity to be where I'm at now. Thank you, Mr. Caldwell, Dr. Bryant. You guys are amazing. You do what you feel is right for our students, and we can't ask for more than that. So just keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you.
I will miss you.
Oh, we'll miss you too.
We'll miss you too, Beth.
And Kathy, thank you so much for keeping me in line. You know, we joke with Stephanie that that's going to be her job, but literally you've kept me in line for the last 3 years. And so I truly appreciate it. And you're going to be desperately missed, and just come over the hill and see me every once in a while. We'll see.
I will pause for one moment. Would you like to say a word or two about Kathy Johnson? Caldwell.
Yep.
Always tell you about is patient, kind? Where was that? Really? No, I was just joking. Absolutely tremendous. I joke around, and for those who are old school with the MASH show, and you had radar, and I'd say, Kathy, I think I need to already done. It's on your desk. Kathy, do you think listen, I've already got that organized. Kathy, what about this? And it was already done. And for somebody who had that skill, truly, it was a tremendous, and not only did we work hard, but we had a great time. We had fun. And that's the part about being life, because sometimes life is so short and we're only here for just a little second of time. We did have a good time, but she is tremendous. And you're right, Mr. Craven. She keeps you on schedule.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell.
Our third recognition is for a man who serves in our community, really a leader without parallel. And sadly, I will offer, we've learned that he's unable to join us today, but we wanted to recognize our county manager, who is soon retiring as well, because there is no one who has been a greater partner of the school system, along with the members of the Board of Commissioners, in terms of the work that they do in investing in our children. And we invited two of the superintendents who had previously served with Mr. Wyatt in that respect. But if I could first say, share with everyone the plaque that we will be offering directly to him. We wanted to recognize Mr. Wyatt very specifically because he spent 15 years leading as the county manager in this community, but helping us to navigate so many different spaces, from new school construction to investment and opportunities in our community, helping us to realize visions that the board has had for the school system. And in many respects, I think Mr. Caldwell and Mr. Jones would affirm this, is we represent one of the models for what it should look like, how government and education work together locally. That doesn't mean that it's perfect, that it's without bumps, that it's without challenges, but it's people who refuse to stop talking. It's people who refuse to say, let's continue to find a way. And it's people who refuse to say, let's remember why we're all here. And that is certainly true with Mr. Wyatt, his leadership with the county, and the Board of Commissioners and their partnership with the Board of Education. And so even in his absence today, we want those words on record for him and on behalf of our appreciation and gratitude. We have a crystal plaque that reads exactly as this: in recognition of Steve Wyatt, with profound gratitude for 15 years of support, advocacy, and investment in the children of Henderson County. And we want to say thank you to him and his investment and continued support and service, because again, helping to shape what that model looks like. And so I'd ask Mr. Caldwell and Mr. Jones to step here as former superintendents who also worked alongside and share a few words that Mr. Wyatt may take with him in that recognition. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Good to see all of you.
Good to see you.
Hello.
And thank you for the job you do. It often goes without any recognition, unless there's something bad going on.
Exactly. We've got lots of recognition this year.
But I would like to say just thank you. I do appreciate that, and I appreciate what you do for our kids. When I was here working, there was a time that there were a few bumps in the road, trying to get some things going in construction and some other things with the county. And I felt very fortunate to be able to have some heart-to-heart conversations with Mr. White, and we became colleagues that worked together. And through his cooperation and his leadership, we were able to accomplish a lot, not only with school construction, but also with some budgets that had been some challenges before that. So if he were here, I would certainly say to him, thank you for what he's done for our community. He really has made a difference, and I wish him well in his retirement. Retirement, we recommend it, right, Mr.
Amen. I do want the record to reflect that I'm not wearing a tie for the first time in probably 18 years at a board meeting. I just want to let you know. As far as Steve Wyatt, the two things I wanted to say about Mr. Wyatt, in the first one, and I don't know if he does this to you, but sometimes I used to text Steve. I'd say, call me. Okay, because I never wanted to make the call. I know he's a very busy man, so I'd tell him to call me in during his time. So all of a sudden on my phone, it would say Steve Wyatt, and I would say, before I got anything else, he would say, what have you done for your country today? I don't know if he's done that for anybody else. But
Yep.
that's what he would say to me. What have you done for your country? Have you done that for
Yep,
you?
lots
Yes.
of times.
Yes, lots of times. Well, it kind of puts pressure on you a little bit, doesn't it? So, because you kind of want to think about what's my answer today? What have I done for my country today? So I wish he was going to be here because I was going to let him ask me one last time, what have I done for my country? And my answer would be this. I got to know Steve Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you truly get to know Steve, you know he is truly a person who cares about our country. He cares about our state, and he cares about the community that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, if you do that, you've done a great deal for your country, to care about them and to serve. So I was ready for that answer this time if he was going to ask me. And Mr. Jones, you're so right. As superintendent, I would go down to superintendent meetings, and they're job-alike meetings. And if you're in your business, if you go to a job-alike meeting across the state of North Carolina, it's really good because you get to share wonderful ideas on what's happening and what you're doing and what's working and what's not working. And then after you share a little bit, then you turn and you start complaining and whining about what's happening. And let those other people whine and complain about, excuse me, but sometimes parents who don't understand, not you, but sometimes they don't. Or sometimes we complain about things not going away. The General Assembly was always a great topic. Also, we complained about our boards. Board chairs. You noticed I turned, but I didn't do that, Mr. Craig.
You look very tan today, Mr. Caldwell.
But the conversation always went to the county manager when you're a superintendent. My county manager doesn't listen to me. My county manager won't even talk to me. There are superintendents across the state that have never talked to their county manager. My county manager does not understand what I need for funding. And for that conversation, I could bow out and just sit back and think, you know, we do have it good here in Henderson County because of the relationship. And number one, I give a lot of credit to this man sitting right here, Mr. David Jones, who worked hard to bridge that gap between the Board of Education and the county commissioners and develop that relationship with Mr. Wyatt. And then I followed Mr. Jones, and I really tried to continue that relationship. And that's what it's all about. Because let's be honest, if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. But if you want to go far, you've got to go together.
Mm-hmm.
And we have gone together with the Board of Education and the county commissioners. Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Craven, members of the board, again, we appreciate the opportunity to recognize and celebrate the young men and women.
Look at him
who are
leaving.
serving
And
in
then
our
they run
community.
out.
I know.
And then they run out.
That's right. Shortest board meeting they've ever had to attend. They get to step out, but truly our recognitions today in honor of the families of these
Yes.
young people who are going to be serving our great nation. Outstanding sense of service in Kathy Johnson, who has dedicated her career to public education and to our school system family. And Mr. Wyatt, who is a representation of what it means to serve in our community. Thank you for the opportunity to recognize those folks.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, that's the end of recognitions. We're going to move on to board chair observations, which I have none this month. And we're going to move on to board member observations. Anybody like to share?
So I have one. I wanted to discuss the topic of masks indoors in our schools. We have received a lot of emails, public comments with members of the community and parents asking us to remove masks off their children. I know I've done this. I don't know if it's been when Miss Lopez is here, but I know I've asked several times this year. Are we able to go beyond what the governor has said and remove masks from the kids in schools? Can we make that decision?
So in my opinion, you are bound by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services guide, which still require masks.
Right, and we cannot let them take their masks off, correct? We have to follow those policies. As much as we would like to, we can't do it. Okay. I just wanted to, I mean, I know it's not what parents want to hear, and I have children in school too, but I just wanted to make that clear that the community and parents seem to think that it's us that's holding up this process of removing masks, and it's not.
Yeah, I don't know if a lot of them think it's us. I think they're telling us to go beyond what the governor is saying and
Just allow it. I
just
don't
allow
know
it.
that we can.
Possibility.
But just to follow, if we did do something like that and we did say, okay, you know what, the governor says this, let's go. If we, let's say somebody got sick, I'm just thinking this through, so correct me if I'm wrong, but if somebody gets sick, somebody could then sue Henderson County School Board. We would not have representation. I mean, we can't just go. It's a bigger picture than just saying, well, just go over what the governor says. I mean, it's a bigger deal.
We have a $90 million budget.
Agree.
Yeah. Yeah, they give us $90 million on top of that. We just can't say go over the governor's head.
You have anything else to share?
No, that was it. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you. Ms. Case.
I read two shout outs this week. East Henderson teacher Maggie McDade is one of 3 North Carolina finalists for the President's
Oh,
Award
yeah.
for Excellence in Math and Science Teaching.
Awesome.
I think we need to recognize her.
Absolutely.
And then, Principal Joni Allison and teacher Katie Gash at Harrisonville Middle are speaking at the annual North Carolina Conference for Educational Equity. And I think those are worth recommending. So I just wanted to let
Yeah.
everybody know about that.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ms. Case. Oh, mic on. Mic on. There we go. See, told you she keeps me straight every time. Anybody else? Great. Moving on to public input for the 2021-2022 proposed budget. We do not have any public comments for that particular. We did receive an email from Mr. Ken Fitch. I hear he's, hopefully he's watching us here today. And he was essentially saying that he thinks we should put more into the arts and music. He thinks I could have been a Grammy Award winner. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome, right? Yeah, maybe. Next up, we're going to have public comments, which is first time in a long time,
Yes.
so I'm excited. First up is going to be Mary Beth Johnson. I'd like to remind you, you have 3 minutes, and your time will start when you get up there. Welcome.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing good.
Thank you for allowing me to be here today. And my public comment goes along with what Miss Amy Lynn Holt had to say just a minute ago, which is about the masks. So I know this might not even be helpful, but I feel like I have to say it. So I'm here because I know you all have had some tough choices to make lately. And I, like many last spring, was unsure what the future would hold, but 15 days to slow the spread seems like it's turning into 15 months of, bullying people into submission. And I just, like many, have had enough of it. So you say, you can't go above the governor, but it might be helpful because I've written to the governor. I think a lot of people have written to the governor. I don't know if you guys have. It might be helpful if that, you put out the word that our people would really like to see these masks off kids. So I have my arguments for it. Really, and masks on kids, I don't feel is helpful at all. Like I've seen it in the classrooms, masks are very unsanitary, especially after about the 4th or 5th time kids sneeze in it that day. They get the crusty snot and it falls down. I don't really know that's doing anything except kind of grossing me out and probably making them pretty sick. They cause dizziness, lightheadedness, headaches, anxiety. Breathing back in our own toxins all day heightens our risk for bacterial pneumonia, upper respiratory infections, conjunctivitis, and chronic respiratory conditions like asthma. And I feel like in some ways, and maybe it's not you, like listening to what you just said, like I understand maybe your hands are tied, but it feels like parents' ability to make choices for their own children have been hijacked. And, our freedoms and our choice have been replaced with ultimatums. Wear a mask or you can't work here. Wear a mask or you can't learn here. And I don't think that's very fair at all. So some people might want to continue to wear one. I'm fine with that. But I'm not afraid of COVID. I'm not afraid of much, actually. But I am, it has made me concerned how easy it has been to disregard people's freedoms and disrespect people's liberty over something like this. And I just, I would like for them to end. So I'm here today just to say that out loud to you all.
Thank you.
So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. And one last one, we have Miss Courtney McCall. Welcome.
I'm Courtney McCall. I'm a fifth grade teacher here in Henderson County, but most important to me, I'm a parent. I want to start by thanking you for your service to our teachers, students. I know it's never easy, but these past years have been especially challenging. I come to you to talk about masks. I've watched day after day as kids chew on, sneeze, and cough in their masks. They're dropped on the floor, shoved in desk and book bags, and forgotten numerous times on the playground. I've seen students with asthma and allergies suffer, and students with auditory processing disorders struggle to understand their peers and teachers. We are alienating those students who rely on lip reading and facial expressions to learn. If wearing a mask under these conditions for 8 hours is our idea of safety, then we have failed our children. Do we really want to send a message that breathing fresh air is dangerous, or that seeing each other's faces should be something to be afraid of? As of last Wednesday, we have had 474 COVID cases since September, 3.5% of our student population. That's it. The board worried about spikes and clusters when we came back to school on Plan B. There weren't any. Worried about spikes and clusters when we went to Plan A. There weren't any. Worried about putting children on the bus. They're fine. It's time to admit that our children are okay. Every parent, teacher, and adult in our community that wants to be vaccinated is eligible, and there are multiple places available for them to go. Studies have shown, and doctors agree, that virus transmission to and from children is low. It seems we can no longer use safety as the rationale for enforcing unnecessary mandates on our students. Our children have been separated in masks for over a year now, and enough is enough. I know the governor has mandated masks. While I'm aware we cannot change the mandate, as our local school board, you do have power in how you choose to enforce that. I applaud our county commissioners in their recent stance in unanimously standing up for our community. It's time for you to do the same for our schools. Let me be clear. I'm not asking you to ban masks. I'm simply asking for the choice to guard my child's health in the way I feel is best. The assurance that he's not going to be reprimanded or sent home because he isn't wearing a mask correctly. I shouldn't have to hear that my child is irresponsible for setting a bad example for simply wanting to breathe. While I know we're nearing the end of this school year, we need to be having these conversations now so we are ready in the fall. I urge you to write the governor with the concerns of our community. I already have. As a teacher, I resent being put in the hypocritical position of telling students to wear a mask for safety when they see me and many other teachers out in public without face covering. That's not the message I want to send to them. Nor do I want to be put in the position of undermining parents by prompting behaviors contradictory to those they have made for their family's health. I love my children and my students, and I will continue to fight for them, for their right to be able to smile and laugh and see the expressions on each other's faces, for their right to breathe freely without fear of getting in trouble or being seen as something dishonorable. I'm asking for you as our school board to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next up, we have the consent agenda. I will take a motion to approve that consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Have a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent is approved. All right, old business, there is none. Let's step on into new business, the county appropriation request.
Mr. Craven, the resolution for
Oh.
school nurses staff.
Didn't pull the resolution up. Sorry.
National, oh, yeah. I don't
Who would
believe
like
that.
to read the resolution honoring the observance of National School Nurse Day?
I would love to do that.
Perfect, thank you.
Boy, have we needed our nurses this year more than any year. Okay, so this is a resolution honoring the observance of National School Nurse Day, May 12th, 2021. Whereas students are the future, and by investing in them today, we are ensuring our world for tomorrow. And whereas families deserve to feel confident that their children will be cared for when they are at school, and whereas all students have the right to have their physical and mental health needs safely met while in the school setting, and whereas school nurses have served a critical role in improving public health and ensuring students' academic success for more than 100 years, whereas whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has emphasized the essential role school nurses play in student health and academic success, and whereas school nurses act as a liaison to the school community, families, and healthcare providers on behalf of children's health by promoting wellness and improving health outcomes for our nation's children, and whereas school nurses are members of school-based education and mental health teams, and whereas school nurses understand the link between health and learning and are in a position to make a positive children for every day, therefore be it resolved that the Henderson County Board of Public Education celebrates and acknowledges the accomplishments of school nurses everywhere and their efforts to meet the needs of today's students and improve the delivery of healthcare in our schools. We offer gratitude for the nation's school nurses who contribute to our local communities by helping students stay healthy in school and ready to learn, and keeping parents and guardians at work, not just on this National School Nurse Day, but at every opportunity throughout the year. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Henderson County Board of Public Education encourages all members of our community to join with it personally expressing appreciation to our school nurses for their dedication and devotion to their work. Adopted this 10th day of May, 2021.
Thank you very much. And I would like to invite Miss Berry down. She is the head nurse for our school system, and you guys have done an awesome job this year. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of us. I know it's been a tough year for all of us, but you guys have been there with us every step of the way, and I know we have some other school nurses here. You guys are welcome to come on down. Thank you guys so.
Look at him, no.
Come on.
Thank you.
Can we get a picture?
And you can please say something if you like.
I'm gonna introduce them.
Yes. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You made it 3 more weeks. We've got summer break, right?
Yay!
Craven,
Talking about summer school. There it is. Thank you.
I didn't think about them.
if I might offer, Mr. Craven, before
Yes.
they step away, our school nurses have been extraordinary, but in so many ways, they have been carrying a flag and often having to carry the worst news. It is not easy to be the one that has to say your child's quarantined for a couple of weeks. It is not easy to say that your child's not able to participate in extracurricular activities. It is not easy to tell a teacher that they have to now stay home and teach remotely when they have the opportunity to teach face-to-face. And these folks have done it with grace and resilience, and often in the face of much, much pushback, because that's a hard news to deliver. And they still come back the next day, and they still come back the next day. And on behalf of all of the nursing team that does that work, we want you to know how much we appreciate that and applaud that and see that work that's being done every day. And we're so grateful to it. And so we thank you for every bad news you've had to deliver. But we thank you that you continue to serve and support us, because that ability for us to operate so safely has been because of the people that have been working alongside us. And you're such a critical part of that. And we thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, now county appropriation. Request, Mr. Bernie Sosha.
Look at them. They're like,
Yep, see ya. That's not the fun stuff.
Yeah, my name can clear a room.
Yeah, just like that. Bernie Sosha. That's funny.
Yeah, it's County appropriation again. No, no changes to make from what we were talking about in our workshops before, and after the lack of any change from public comment, any conversation there, we don't see any direction to change. And even though there are two county requests, we're not actually asking for $72 million. We're only asking for 36.
Why did you
Scroll
put
down.
2 on there?
I don't know.
Just hit.
I didn't think
Just
there were
add
when I
another
when I
slide.
sent it over. I didn't think there were 2 on there, so apparently there were.
Does anybody have any additional questions about our county appropriation, either from a capital outlay or current expense point of view that you didn't get answered during our budget workshops?
And this includes the supplement increase,
This
correct?
includes a 1/4 point supplement increase,
sir.
not the 50 cents, 50 bips that we were looking at, but this includes a 1/4 that we had in the presentation.
Correct. That was what was presented. The pending the numbers, how they play out with the state budget when it comes in, we'll come back to you with actual numbers to make a decision of if it's a 1/4, if there was enough for a half, or all depends on how those numbers play
Yeah.
out.
And
But the
like,
1/4 is what we planned in here. Yes.
like I've told everybody before, we've been 2 years without a budget, and so we've just had a continuation budget for those 2 years, and so maybe we'll have a budget this time from the state.
I'm optimistic.
Optimistic.
They seem to be far apart currently,
Well,
but
a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
Not my ball game.
So Bernie, we will revisit the 50% when the budget from the state
yes,
comes in.
when we build an actual budget in the whenever the state comes out, we'll build the initial budget for the year, and we'll clearly outline all the dollars where that $1 million increase that is in the 29 million from the current expense line of where that falls, so that you can make a decision of how you want us to budget the current year.
So what happens if they don't, if they don't get one till November? Are we are going to go with the 1/4% until we can maybe do more, or?
Very good question. So we at the June meeting, we'll come with our interim budget that will allow us to operate. I'll probably plan on it through November, hoping that the state will come out with a budget. We will always be able to retroactively change that supplement after. I guess it'll come down to the numbers, how we feel at the time. If you want us to put the 1/4% in there, but we'll have to look at the numbers to be for sure of how we can approach the increase of the local supplement. But if it comes back and there's extra dollars and you decided you want to be a 0.5% instead, we would certainly go back and we can adjust that in the current year after the fact.
And so starting July 1, our 12-month employees will start to see this increase in their supplement.
So the supplement doesn't show up until November.
Till November, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have until then to make that determination of what it would be.
Questions, comments, concerns? Any MRTS questions? Capital outlay? Awesome. I'll take a motion.
Let me go back up here so I'm saying the right thing.
It's right there.
I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve the 2021-2022 county appropriation request.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's approved. Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you much. We will get the letter to the commissioners.
Sweet. Next up is Dr. Wendy Fry, Helping Hand contract. Good afternoon.
Students were asking for your approval of the school year 122 Helping Hand development contract. Helping Hand serves preschool students who hours of easy services a day in a setting that's balanced between peers. And we bring you this today for policy 640, which they had any
Wendy, how do kids who are not in school get an IEP?
I'm not sure that I can answer that question. But factors
preschools, do evaluations in preschools as well as developmental evaluations. And so, you know, we have an obligation to serve them at 3 years old.
At 3?
At
Mhm.
3.
Sugarloaf and at Edneyville. We have 2 classrooms at Sugarloaf and 2 classrooms at Edneyville.
And do other nonprofits like Children Family Resource Center, Smart Start, folks like that, do they come in and do those some of those evals? How are they doing the evaluations on preschool kids?
Well, different preschools will contract with different
Different
organizations, right? They do it contractually.
Okay. All right. Questions? Take a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the 21-22 Helping Hand contract that Dr. Fry has just mentioned.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you're still here. Soul sore. I didn't mean it that way. I meant like you're next again. I'm really sorry. See, see, she tried to beat me in like softball or something the other day. We were at Etowah, so I'm still a little salty about it. But anyways,
There's a picture.
there is a picture. Sole source.
And Miss
purchases
Case
with
was there
federal
as witness.
funds. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Also, Voyager Sopris Learning, which you're going to hear more about in the future, includes the LETTERS program identified in House Bill 196 to be used for the training of teachers to improve literacy and language development of students for early literacy skills. The state will begin rolling out training for teachers this summer. However, we would like to begin training a bit earlier with targeted educators in our district, including our instructional coaches and a select group of reading specialists and administrators who will help us plan our district rollout. We want to get a jump start on that. In addition, this earlier training will allow them to become trainers within our district and seeking your approval of the sole source vendor from Title I funds.
So we haven't had this program before.
We have not. This is the one that's specifically mentioned in the language. All teachers in the state will undergo training in this, and it's going to be phased in cohorts. We do not have reason to believe that we're going to be in the first cohort, so we want to go ahead and get a jump start on this and get some folks trained this summer and not wait.
And who passed this? The
This was General Assembly, yes, ma'am.
And they did not give us any of the $58,500.
Well, we actually have been led to believe that we will receive funds when our teacher training is required. However, we want to go ahead and get some of our instructional coaches and administrators trained so they can become trainers for us. We have found that to be a very sound practice in the past, and we want to get a jump start.
Dr. Fry, will this program blend nicely with our literacy program that we've been working on?
Absolutely. And Dr. Marlowe feels very strongly about this, that it complements what we're doing. The science of reading, we feel like will be good for all educators. Yes, in no way in opposition to anything we're already doing.
I'm glad to see the training.
Me too.
This is not just a political thing like the last reading thing we had that didn't show results, is it?
Well, we feel like this is really a good training. It's been used in other states successfully, and I'll have to give credit to Dr. Marlowe for looking into it very deeply for us. She's already done a lot of research around it. It talks about how children learn to read, and that's good for all of us to know, whatever our roles are, especially with our elementary students. So we feel good about it.
There are other political things coming down the pipeline.
Oh, I know.
Yep.
That have nothing to do with school. But anyways, I'll take a motion unless anyone else has any other questions.
I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve Voyager Sopris Learning as a vendor under the sole source exemption guidelines.
Second,
Second.
Miss Holt, I believe I heard first. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And you have one more.
I'm
You're
still
still
here.
I know, and I said you have one more. You got one more with us.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited.
So the next one is we want to ask your permission to apply for money.
Oh.
And these are the things we want to apply for. As we do each year, we're requesting your authorization to submit federal funding applications for Title I, Part A, which also includes McKinney-Vento Homeless Education Subgrant, and then Migrant Education. Title II, Part A, which supports effective instruction, including some really sound PD we're able to offer. Title III, Part A, ELL and immigrant funding, and then finally Title IV, Part A, student support and academic enrichment grants. We would like your permission to apply for all of this money because we really need it.
I'll do it. I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education grant staff the authorization to submit federal funding applications as outlined in the request.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Next is inter-unit student transfer agreements. Mr. Carl Taylor.
Good afternoon, board members. This afternoon, I'm bringing to you the agreements for the inter-unit student transfers between Henderson County Public Schools Board of Education and Polk County Board of Education and the Rutherford County Board of Education. Again, these are the agreements in terms of the Polk County agreement. That's the agreement in that Saluda section that allows those students from the Saluda Elementary School to attend Flat Rock Middle School and East Henderson High School. And then the Rutherford County area is the Lake Lure Back Cave area, which allows those students to attend Edneyville Elementary, Apple Valley Middle, and North Henderson High School.
And the reason we have these agreements is because normally if you are out of county student and you're coming to Henderson County, you would have to pay what our local government pay to have your kid to come here, right?
Yes, sir.
So this would make it so your student does not have to pay that fee if they live in these two areas, correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Take a motion.
I move that the agreements for inter-unit student transfers in Polk County, the Saluda section, and Rutherford County, the Back Cave and Lake Lure sections, be approved as presented.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Always together.
Any opposed? Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you.
Dr. Bryant, you're up. School Board appointed Blue Ridge Community College trustees.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Craven, members of the board. We are very, very fortunate to have outstanding representation on the Board of Trustees with Blue Ridge Community College. In fact, Dr. Revis actually served most recently in one of those roles. We have 4 spots that really serve as the perspective and champions of the public education system, and we are able to nominate folks to serve in those roles. We have 2 members whose roles and terms are expiring at the end of the 2021 term, which is June. Those are Betty Gash and Miss Kathy Childress. Both of those have indicated that they have a desire to continue to serve as trustees on the board and are great representatives of our greater community as well as Henderson County Public Schools. And so we're bringing to this board the opportunity to approve those reappointments, and then those would be taken to the Board of Trustees with the community college.
Thank you. Before anybody else says anything, these 2 ladies are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful ladies. And Miss Childress was actually my principal back in whenever, 4th grade, 5th grade. So I'm glad that they accepted the nomination to be on the Board of Trustees for 4 more years.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else have anything? Anything for or against? Nope. I will take a motion.
Great. I move that the Henderson County Board of Public Education approve the request to reappoint Betty Gash and Kathy Childress to the Blue Ridge Community College Board of Trustees as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, so we're going to get into some board superintendent reports here. And the first is going to be a return to learn update with 14 days left of school.
We're in the short rows. Yes, sir. Absolutely. It's hard to believe that our school year is going to end in May. It's hard to believe that the next time we are back together, we will have finished the 2020-21 school year, and we will have already begun our summer learning program when we are back together again.
Can you believe that, honestly, if you think about it, like the past year, what has all happened?
Yes, sir.
And we're finally in this final stretch of this school year. Kids are going to graduate
Good.
Amen.
with their other peers. We're playing sports. I know some people are upset about masks, but okay. We've come a long way.
We have, and it really, each of these updates in so many ways is just representative of the amazing work that's happening, the work that families have done, that parents have done, that students have done, that our teaching staff has done, that our support personnel has done, and that everybody has continued just one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. And that is why we are here in this respect. And so today's Return to Learn update is a little shorter than the most recent ones have been. We have started every one of these presentations looking at the trend data in our community, and you'll see that we do have some stabilizing effects. Most recently in Henderson County, that data as of today, which is really as of Sunday or Mother's Day, is 11.7. So we're just below that 13 number. But again, that's a very good sign for our community to have continued to stabilize as we've been operating within this space. The County Alert System report as of April the 1st was in this moderate area at 4.9% in the 14-day positive. Its most recent look in April 29th is 4.5%. You see we continue to stay in that moderate or that light yellow area. Our Senate bill operation was the one that's been driving our ability to move toward Plan A. And just as Mrs. Holt asked in the board member observation piece, the condition of operating under Plan A is that you follow the guidelines in the toolkit. Our ability to be open, if you will, for daily face-to-face instruction is our adherence to those rules and to those guidelines, one of which currently is a face covering requirement when we are indoors. We've been operating as such. We have continued to provide a remote learning option as directed statutorily. Local boards were elected to do so that families would have the ability to participate in at the discretion of the parent. Our service delivery has not changed very much since you last saw this slide. Again, looking at our overall school system, 82% are still attending face-to-face. That means 5 days a week for daily instruction. Just shy of 20% are remote only. That ROL, that's remote learning option only. And you can see how that is different across the school system based on the choices of the families in those respective school communities. Senate Bill 220, of course, also talked about the reporting of our data. Each week by noon on Friday, I report our daily positive cases across our school-affected situations. So those are those cases that get reported to our dashboard. Those are those cases that we make community phone calls to each and every day as it relates to that. That's reported to the ABC School Science Collaborative that we work with on a weekly basis. School and community safety has been our operational piece as it relates to continuing to be flexible for different scenarios. If there is a word that applies to public education in the last 12 to 14 months, it has been flexibility. Our dashboard is updated on the next business day. It's been available to our public throughout the pandemic period. We have stayed steadfast in these commitments, and I'm proud to show this slide again, maybe differently than I've ever showed it before, because this is what we told people we'd do, and this is what we've done every single time. We have worked very, very hard to be over communicative, to make sure that people don't wonder what is happening in our schools. You think about the praise that we gave our school nurses earlier. It's no easy task to call families and have to tell them that their child's going to be out of school for 2 weeks because they've been determined to be a close contact. And they, again, have done that through month after month after month after month, knowing that sometimes that call will be unwelcome. But we have made those commitments, and they have been the things that allowed us to operate and operate safely throughout this entire period. The reminder for these last couple of weeks is that the Board of Education has the local authority to make day-to-day decisions regarding individual schools and individual classrooms. And we're very fortunate to say that we've been providing steady opportunities for face-to-face instruction throughout this process. Our recommendation, just as it has been most recently, is to continue our Plan A operations for kindergarten through grade 5 and our Plan A operations for middle and high school students for the remainder of the school year. We expect that we will be able to do so just as we have been for these last several months. The Instructional Refresher, as this group is very well aware, is we are operating on our regular bell schedule. There is live and remote option for students to be able to participate in their remote learning. Our attendance guidelines have remained the same. And then we've been asking that they stay in one platform over the other. The summary thoughts, same 4 bullets that you have seen since July of 2020 as it relates to our expectation, our attention to each of those elements. As the guidance has changed, so have we. And that's where this last slide really kind of comes into play in terms of our end of year activities. The most recent state guidance has changed our operations, most notably outdoors. That has been the biggest change. As of 5 p.m. at the end of April, our operations outside have changed in terms of that face covering expectation and what's required. Occupancy restrictions have not changed. They remain at 50% for the remainder of this month. The social distancing protocols, sanitation guidelines, public health restrictions, those have not changed. A face covering is still required in all indoor settings where schools are operating. A face covering is now not required and entirely optional in outdoor settings. That's students, staff, visitors, personnel associated with that. That's an optional choice where that 6 feet of social distancing cannot be maintained. Yes, sir.
Let's stop on the face covering. That's what everybody's emailing us about right now.
Yes, sir.
Right? Let's go ahead and let it out. You know, we've got folks that are emailing us that want us to essentially to not listen to the governor, to DHHS and take this mask off of kids. We've got 14 days left of school. Let's just get through this year. Hopefully by next August, everything kind of turns and we can take the mask off. I'm sick of it. Vaccinated. I wish I didn't have to wear it, but, you know, I do what I have to do. We've got 14 days left. I know people are upset, but if we talk to our kids and you know, I'll be honest, my kids haven't complained about it once because we don't even talk about it at the house.
Yeah.
It's not even a thing. Do you have your mask? Oh, go get it. Come in the car. Put your mask on. All right, see ya. If we go grab something to eat or do something, our kids aren't even talking about it, thinking about it. I think a lot of it has to do with how we talk to our kids about things and then that's how they internalize them, and then that's how they then externalize it and express what they're feeling on a particular situation. 14 days. Let's just work together. Let's get through this school year. Let's get to this summer. Take a nice little break and a little vacation, hopefully, or if you have to come to summer school and credit recovery, then you're going to have to do that, whatever. And then we'll start back in August and we can start having this discussion again because I'm sure it's going to come up. But 14 days, we've got a mask. If you guys want to send the governor a letter about taking masks off.
I had that. He doesn't respond.
He doesn't.
He's
it's
not, yeah.
It's a waste of paper. But I'm willing to do whatever the board desires
Well,
to do.
we've sent information as well as the county commissioners.
Right.
And that's fine. I mean, that's what
Not
the
on a
governor.
mask. We have not sent anything on a mask. The last time we sent something to the governor, actually, we didn't send it because we were sending it on teacher vaccinations. And the next day or that afternoon, they came out and said they're going to put North Carolina teachers to the front of the line. That's the last time that we have actually
Okay, I thought we had.
mailed the
Letter.
governor. But I don't think we even sent it. There's
That's
no point, right?
Right. I would be very apprehensive to say that it's okay for high schoolers to remove their masks in indoor settings. They tend to transmit it a lot more than what like elementary school.
Well, but beyond that, it really doesn't matter because, like Mr. Craven said, we get $90 million from the state,
Right.
and the state says we have to wear masks, and you know what? Indoors, and so we need to wear masks indoors. And we just want the public to know that it's not a school board call.
Right.
Don't be mad at the school board or unhappy with the school board because it's not a school board thing. We're not asking. We're not, and sure we could send a letter, but again, Mr. Craven, we have 2 weeks left. You know, let's just get through it. This is what the governor calls for. We do get $90 million. We do get legal representation to help us if something should happen. All that, we have to follow the rules, and the rules are made out by the governor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've been doing all these school visits, and we walk in and out of classrooms, and I don't see children being reprimanded or suffering or teachers yelling about masks. I mean, if a kid's mask comes down, it comes down. I mean, teacher might just say, fix your mask, but it hasn't been like this
And they
scenario.
do get to take their mask off
Right.
when they're eating and when they go outside.
Get
They
outside.
yeah.
And and
So,
June 1st, everything kind of is starting to open up. We're graduating on the 28th, not the 1st, and so we're going to be at 50% occupancy for our outdoor and our indoor graduations. But come June, everything's going to kind of open up a little bit as far as the outdoor social distancing thing goes on. And so let's just get to the school year. It's been a lot. The mask will be okay for 14 more days, and then come August, we can have this fight again because I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure it's coming.
And I'm like you, I have 3 kids in school too,
Yeah,
and
I've got 3 of
they've
'em.
not said a word to me about it, which is crazy.
I just don't think.
I whine about it more.
and that's to me, that's the issue. If your kids are hearing you complain about it for them, then they are going to complain about it. My kids, of course, they don't want to wear the mask. My kids don't want to wear shoes. Xavier don't want to wear shorts when he doesn't want to run around in his underwear. But we have to handle those things. So let's just
TMI.
yeah, right. Let's just have some grace here, and please just have a little grace with us, and let's get through this.
Let's get through it.
And that's all I got.
And Mr. Craven, I think the board fully understands because that's the direction that we've received is as those guidelines change that we've been enacting them immediately as it relates to that. The outdoor face covering change is a perfect example. As soon as we were lawfully allowed to make that optional, we did. And with the June 1st date that we've all heard about as it relates to an updated executive order, that may inform a different operation during our summer learning programs. And if that were the case, then that's what you can expect it to look like. What we know is that our operations have hinged on that guidance and we'll continue to attend to it.
Thank you.
My
Just
pleasure.
so I just wanted to stop you right there. And
Yes, sir.
beat
No
that up
problem.
against the wall.
I appreciate that. Just a reminder, we briefly talked about it. Graduations for our high school students are scheduled for May 28th. That is a Friday. That is the last student day of the school year. We are planning for in-person events at all of our school sites. We have a couple that are planning indoor. We have a couple that are planning outdoor. I'll talk more about that later in Superintendent Reports, but I think it's important for the public to know and to be reminded that we are in fact planning in-person end-of-year activities. And that really is a K-12 thing. We've been talking with our elementary principals about 5th grade graduations, about transitions between middle schools and high schools, every opportunity that we can to have our students doing in-person activities, and we've created structures for that. The final 3 bullets, again, are those that you're familiar with. We continue to stay in close coordination with our local health department and partner agencies, and we'll follow the guidelines as they've been updated. Glad to answer any questions that you might have as it relates to return to learn. And as you said, we are in the short rows.
I have a quick one.
Yes, sir.
On instructional service delivery, when you're talking about the schools, I'm looking at the number. It's on around page 9, but I see the number going up as the student ages. So it was just the number stood out to me. Henderson County Early College, 48% are face-to-face and 52% chose remote learning option. And I'm guessing that's because the face-to-face becomes less necessary as the student ages, or it's easier?
I wouldn't say it's less necessary. I would say that students probably can be more independent in those situations. Okay. I think the challenge is for some students that platform is more conducive to the way that they prefer to learn, and others would say not. And so I think what we found, the way those numbers have teased out, is generally like what habit you've gotten used to. Some kids have enjoyed that remote independence and that remote flexibility. Others have found it to be maybe more beneficial to the way that they prefer to learn, that sense of style. And the folks that have really preferred that face-to-face environment and that face-to-face structure have returned to that. And so if you look at our high schools predominantly, you see that those percentage of remote learning options have stayed high across the board.
And that's what I was looking at,
Yes,
but then
sir.
it just jumped up to 52, and I was like, is there
Well, the early
anything-
college is a little bit unique, and Dr. Fry can correct me where I'm wrong here, but many of those students are participating in a blended both high school and a collegiate environment.
Right.
And so that's a space that they are very likely very comfortable with.
Yeah, Blue Ridge is doing a lot of hybrid classes this past year, and a lot of those were online, and they just stuck it out. I mean, they finished last week or whatever with those classes. So I think that's why a lot of those kids.
Yeah. I've talked to some of our high school kids who have demonstrated, especially in that right-hand column, that they've found a nice balance between their ability to work and do school at the same time.
Sure.
And they've got a flexibility they otherwise didn't have. And because they could choose, they stayed in that space.
I was just making sure there wasn't something that we were missing, that all of a sudden it jumped from over, you know,
No,
over
sir.
half
Yeah.
going remote.
Any other questions?
That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Up next, Mr. Carl Taylor, construction update. Welcome.
Good afternoon again, Board. This afternoon, I'll share with you some updates on projects going on across our district. And so beginning, first of all, with Hendersonville High School, since our last meeting, it was announced that that project is ahead of schedule, which is exciting news for our students and our staff that work there at the school. So I'm going to begin with some photos and then transition to some slides from a presentation that Dr. Bryant, Mr. Parent, and I gave to the staff last Thursday. And so here are some updated photos at the student entrance area in that parking lot area. This is an area that the construction company is working very diligently on, as this is an area that our students and families will access for graduation here at the end of this month. Here are some updated photos of the gymnasium, the Pardue Gym, where last week and the beginning of this week they're finishing up the painting there of the gym floor. So you can see where they've laid out the
So it's not going to be blue.
That's just a primer, right?
I was like,
colors didn't change.
I
Yeah,
was
that's
like,
the stencil.
this is a little weird looking.
They may be red today. I haven't had an update yet
Okay,
today, but I'll be out there tomorrow to be able to look at it and see. But yes, that's just the stenciling for where the red paint will take place. And
Now,
then
this is the Pardue Gym?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
where this is? Okay.
Yes. Then the other picture there is the entrance to that area, to the Pardue Gym from that lobby area where you can see the ceiling grids are being finished up and the flooring out in front of it as well. So as I mentioned, last Thursday, we went over there to meet with the staff to update them on the new timeline. And so here, this slide shows you the original timeline when everything started a few years ago. And I really want to focus on the bottom 5 because that's really where we see the changes that are taking place. And so over the holiday break of this upcoming school year is when the staff there was supposed to move out of the Stillwell building and then transition into just the vocational building and that new building that is being constructed. From there, the auditorium was supposed to be closed, and then you can see the dates for moving into the Stillwell was going to be December of 2022, and then demoing that vocational area in the courtyard in 23. And so there at the start of the school year of 2023 is when that entire project was to be completed. So here is the new timeline. Again, those gyms are going to be available for the students and staff in that community to have graduation at the end of this month. So that'll be kind of the first sneak peek into those areas. That new building that was supposed to be completed and transitioned to December of 21, January of 22, is going to be ready for our students to transition into in August of this year.
Nice.
So as our students begin and our staff open up a new school year, they get to open it up in that entire new building, which is very exciting. So that's 3.5 months ahead of schedule. The Stillwell Auditorium will be available to that school in February of 2022. So that's just 2 weeks ahead on that part. But then as we move down to those bottom 3, that's where the timeline really shifts. That Stillwell building will be ready in August of 2022, which is 4 months ahead of schedule, but also in this upcoming year, all of that site work will be completed. So when we open up the 2022 school year for the Hendersonville High School, everything will be complete. So Stillwell, the auditorium, that new building, the courtyard will all be completed for those students and staff in our community to be able to enjoy. And so that's 11 months ahead of the original schedule. And so that was celebrated at the commissioners meeting because, again, and as Dr. Bryant said to the staff on Thursday, when do you hear of a construction project being completed?
Absolutely.
11 months ahead of schedule.
And at least $500,000 under budget.
And at least $500,000 under budget. Yes, sir.
You've done a good job with
And,
this
I mean,
position
my
in
That's
a
been
few
4
months.
months. Look what happened.
We should have moved you there a long time ago.
It's amazing the difference.
The guy before him
The
was
guy
terrible.
before him.
Exactly.
That guy.
Just drug his
Exactly.
feet.
I've learned you better take credit when you can because it may not always be there. So if you want to give it to me, I will gladly take it. Go
But
ahead.
sincerely, what do we attribute this advanced timeline?
I think there's a lot of factors, and Dr. Bryant can jump in as well, since again he was more privy to all of those during the last year and a half. But not having students on campus all of the time, I think, allowed Vinoy and their subcontractors to get in there and do projects ahead of schedule. And then weather, of course, plays a role in it to some extent as well. And so I think those two have played a role in why Vinoy's been able to get it this far ahead.
It was March 15th when Dr. Bryant gave me a call and said, you know what? I think we have an opportunity here. We were going to take 2 weeks off of school, and that was it, right? That's all we were going to do. And to get this under control, COVID under control. And they said they could start doing that brick pointing work and that on the outside of Stillwell, because the kids weren't going to be there. It's really loud. It's dusty. It's just nasty work. And they were like, can we get it done now? I'm like, absolutely. Hammer down. And then all of a sudden they started coming with more requests. Can we do this? Yes. Can we do that? Go. Until you got to this point right here. It's the only silver lining that I've seen for our school system as far as COVID goes.
And they also decided to do that, that work with the sewer, water lines, whatever, so it would have been in 2019, in the summer of
It
2019.
was immediately when we approved
Yeah.
the project. They knocked
Yeah,
that out
so
on
they
Bear
got
Cat
that
Bowl.
taken care of.
Yeah.
There
this
have
is-
been a number of opportunities that the entire team has done exactly as you talked about, is how do we think more strategically, because the conditions just changed. And as Mr. Taylor was mentioning, whether those conditions were students not in face-to-face environments or an opportunity to move something up ahead of schedule and tackle that, the team from Vinoy, the team from the county, and the team from the school system we are in constant communication about those opportunities, because we know that handing a school back to us essentially 11 months ahead of schedule is best for kids. And we've tried to take advantage of every one of those opportunities.
Good deal.
All right. With this new timeline, though, does create some change for how we need to operate moving forward from a school and a school district standpoint. And so as we look to next school year, what Hendersonville High School will have access to, first of all, is that entire new building, which is their main office area, their counseling office area, the classrooms, the media center, cafeteria, and the gymnasiums. So they will have access to everything that is inside of that new building. Also, though, we've got to accommodate the vocational building being taken away in advance of where we had originally planned. That vocational building was going to be additional classroom space that now we have to find a replacement for, and that replacement is going to be in the use of mobile units. So our maintenance department has worked very quickly to locate and identify mobile units that we already have within Henderson County Public Schools that we can access and move there to the Hendersonville High School campus. So we're looking at around 15 mobile units. Each of those mobile units will be equipped with a smart board, projector, of course, Wi-Fi access, moving student desk, teacher desk, and any other needed items from the Stillwell building into those mobile units.
Where are you going to put all 15 of them? Because I thought we could only put 9 or 8.
We're looking at the parking lot area, especially that upper area there at the student entrance, to where we can potentially put that many there for our students.
So you're saying that second level and the upper level as well?
Potentially just the upper level, but again, that's what we'll work with the county to make sure that we have those placed in an appropriate way.
And we have to make sure that over the next year that they're safe when people are coming into that road and dropping kids off and then spinning back around and going back out the light. So we have to either block it off or figure out a way to make sure that those kids are safe in those units.
In the current plan, as Mr. Taylor was saying, the way that it's laid out right now, as we've worked through it, it actually creates the safest situation, because it essentially creates parking access for just the lower 2 tiers. And that third tier is completely cordoned off. There's no traffic flow in there at all.
So 15 can fit in the parking spaces that's up top up there?
On the top right now is how it's laid out. Yes,
And
sir.
are you going to drop kids off at a different spot?
They would be dropped off at where the sidewalk meets.
At the second level?
Yes, sir, at the second level.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
Instructionally, we can carry out all of our instructional needs in those mobile units, because we're talking about CTE, is that right?
That, where Mr. Wilkins and the school will decide what teachers are
Oh,
using
okay.
those spaces. I think it was actually going to be math that was
Okay.
transitioning to the
Okay.
vocational building because CTE is inside of the new building.
All right,
Yeah,
so
great
it's not
question.
just the CTE, okay, gotcha. That was a little worrisome, thank you.
Yes.
I think it's at math, foreign language. What else do we have in Stillwell? Math, foreign language, ELA.
That's what's, as Dr. Evans is asking, the building has traditionally been CTE, but what's
Right,
actually
right.
happening is when we're moving to that new facility, that's where all the CTE classrooms are.
Right.
So we'll just have core content that can be taught in the mobile
That'd be
units.
great, thank you.
So then we talked with the staff there at Hendersonville High School about the moving out process. And so what we've provided for them is the boxes necessary to go ahead and begin packing those spaces up. So before June 7th, because on June 8th is when the movers will come in and then start moving out everything from the teacher materials that are in those boxes to any other classroom equipment that needs to be taken out of those spaces. And then we just ask you how they label them so that the movers know exactly when we move them from there to storage, then back from storage to those classroom spaces so that we know exactly where they need to go, so that when teachers show up for day one of next school year, their items are there for them.
Who's doing the moving?
We're going to coordinate that between our maintenance, but also with Vinoy and the county, and talking about the most efficient way to accomplish that. Because again, we want to free up the Stillwell building as soon as we can. And so the soon as we can get everything out of there, then it's theirs, of course, to take over.
County assured us that they would help us and all of our staff, but it's 100 years worth of stuff in that building that has to come out in a short amount of time.
But I think the benefit is, again, when we think about the original transition plan was the holiday break.
It was,
And
yeah.
so you think about, especially, our staff working in the school for an entire semester, hitting that holiday break, which is 2 weeks, and then saying, now in this 2 weeks, we got to get everything out of here. That, to me, would be very stressful. At least now, as we close up the school year, we've got work days at the end that can provide some of that time. And then hopefully that staff can go home for the summer, relax, and have a great summer and not worry about having to move out. As we look at the summer school for Hendersonville High School will be hosted at Hendersonville Middle School. We're still coordinating a plan that will accommodate their administration and their office staff during the summer. The school will have access to the stadium during the summer. That is the one space that we can right now say that they will have access, while everything else potentially still would be considered a construction zone. All right. Transitioning to some of the other projects that are taking place, as I presented at the last board meeting, the work there at Rugby Middle School continues in terms of that secure entry renovation. They're demoing that front area, which used to be some office space and an art classroom. So the demo is taking place at this point. Again, our target completion date to where that front office will be completed and the classroom there where the office is at now will be completed by the time the next school year begins. The roof replacement that I mentioned at the last board meeting is complete, and happy to say that during the rain of the last couple of weeks, the roof did its job. Did not receive any complaints about a leaking roof, so that was awesome news. Once they finished up the roof replacement, there was an HVAC unit that also needed to be replaced up on the roof that was over 20 years old. And so last week, there was a crane out here to lift that HVAC unit up on top of the roof, and then by the end of last week, the HVAC company had it hooked up. And those office areas that are run by that HVAC unit were working. Was very cool on Friday in those spaces. All right, so at this time, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Upward? You have any updates?
I do not have any updates at this time. But I'll look into that and have something for you at the next board meeting.
Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Wow.
Dr. Wendy Fry, Equity Update. It's great to see you again.
Thank you, sir. It's good to be back.
Absolutely.
You're a little salty today.
I know, I'm not.
In previous equity updates, we have reported to this board programs such as I shared with you last time, the Grow Our Own program. And one in which we will intentionally recruit students of color so that our staff may begin to mirror the diversity of our students. But you also charged us at the last board budget workshop to begin thinking about equity also in terms of these updates on a broader scale, and how are we removing barriers for our students, because that certainly is an opportunity to provide equity to all students. And I talked with several of our principals and asked them to help me remember and list the ways in which we have in recent years attempted to remove barriers for students, because I felt that we needed to start there before we identified additional barriers that need to be removed. So wanted to share with you the list that they helped put together. First of all, as you are most certainly aware, examining musical instrument inventory and planning a recurring budget line. I cannot tell you the number of emails that I have received from our band and orchestra teachers. So very thankful that that has been a point of discussion by this board. Another one, waiving bus fees for student activities, covering all certification and credential fees for students in CTE courses. Those are expensive. And as I've continued to share, those are not the kid versions of these certifications. Those are the adult versions, and in some cases are very expensive. Providing glasses, dental work, and shoes for students through the support of our generous community. The Spring Fund, the needy student fund that our Education Foundation provides for us so generously. Also inviting underrepresented groups to participate in our Education Foundation's STEM camp. Additionally, paying for Spanish language supports for parents to communicate with school personnel through our Dogwood grant. Providing Chromebooks for every student. Increasing student connectivity via hotspots, and being intentionally inclusive and ensuring access to advanced academic services, as our AIG program was recently recognized as a promising practice for North Carolina's call to action for equity and excellence. Those are the ones that came to mind between the principals collaborating on this list and our instructional services team. And while we celebrate the removal of these barriers, we're by no means where we want to be, and simply consider this as our starting point to now consider other areas to explore. Additionally, for the equity update, I'd like to mention a specific effort that was an outgrowth of one that was shared with you previously. We had several teachers, 3 in fact, who participated in Dialogues for Racial Justice by the National Padea Center, Dr. Terry Roberts, and they were so very highly complimentary of that program that we have decided to expand that, and we'll be offering next school year a series of 8 symposiums, conversations with teachers, and administrators and counselors. 30 will be invited to participate, and those will be 8 seminars that will be spaced over the course of next school year. We're very excited about that. Just received rave reviews, and I have had several conversations with Dr. Roberts as well. And the third one I was going to share with you, Miss Kay stole it. I'm so glad that she did, though. We continue to celebrate the work of Miss Katie Gash and her principal, Miss Joni Allison. What a dynamic duo they are. And just the spotlight presenters, they will be at the 2nd annual conference for educational equity. We are so proud of our staff who continue to seek ways to expand opportunities for students, and we are committed to continuing to do so.
Quick question.
Yes.
5th grade students that are entering band, do you have any news on that?
So I talked with my friend Steve Sigmund
Yeah.
about that. And he feels confident that we are sharing with students, 5th graders, that there is an opportunity for them to participate in band. However, we recognize that if we had an expanded inventory of instruments, there would be expanded opportunities for students.
So how does that messaging go out? Because I know, I remember, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when we went into that meeting, and then we went and the 8th graders came and played for us. You know, they give you a packet,
Right.
like call tempo or do this or do that. And then you call them and you're like, oh, it's $140 a month to do whatever. Like, how are we, how are we not missing the parent that falls right on that line, you know? that doesn't feel quite comfortable enough coming back to us.
Right.
How do you do that?
And I was trying to remember my same experience as a mom of fifth grade students. And I know that I sat in a similar meeting where that information was dispersed. And I remember saying, if this is going to be a hardship for your family, please see one of us. And I do remember that message. I think it's communicated in different venues in different ways at all of our middle schools. But I do think that we can message that louder. And as Steve Sigmund so expertly pointed out to me, sometimes the size of a student determines what instrument like they can carry and they can transport. You know.
True.
So I think the best way to address that is by making more instrument options available that the schools own, that students can check out, and we can continue to message that to parents. We have more messaging opportunities now than ever before too.
But the parents who come to those meetings are not the parents who probably need the help.
Yes, ma'am.
I think was the one, like, we came to the meeting and I'd say, 80% of the people probably, participated in band in some way, but those 20% that came to the meeting, saw everything, and then figured out how much it really was to rent that thing every month or whatever it was, I think you just lose them at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to make sure that we are letting folks know, and y'all are telling us what are those needs. How can we make sure that there are no barriers if a kid wants to play flute, clarinet, trumpet, trombone, whatever?
Yes.
Let us know.
Yeah,
Let
we
us
could
help
pay
you
that
figure that
fee.
out.
Yeah.
Pay that fee. We'll buy that instrument. Let's go.
And I love hearing you say that. And I am fully committed to continuing that conversation with our instructors because they're an amazing group.
And I know there's other obstacles in every extracurricular thing that happens. Even if it's, we talked about sports and how expensive some sports may be, like golf compared to basketball, right? It's thousands of dollars versus, a basketball, $20. But I want to make sure that we're being very intentional on how we're reaching kids to make sure, especially getting into that middle school awkward, weird phase, that we can help them become the best that they can be.
And it may
experience the
be like, they could ask, like in fifth grade, which one of you wants to join band? And, like mark down, 10 people raise their hand. And then checking in with them, the work is done at the fifth grade level. They're checking in with them after the meeting. And then, are you going to do it? No, why not? Because the kids will be honest. Mom said we couldn't afford it. And then the teacher reaching out and saying, hey, what's this barrier? And how can the school system help this child do that? That's probably going to be the best way for us to do it.
Yeah, I would like to find a method of communication whereby parents are not having to say, hey, I
Yeah.
can leave.
They raise their hand in that group.
Yeah,
or
Yeah,
whatever, right?
exactly.
Or a child having to do that. I
Yeah.
mean, we've got to find a way, a process, a procedure, and I know you can, Dr. Fry, that, parents are not having to say that publicly, or even,
Yeah.
that's very hard, even
Right.
personally, to say
Mhm.
that.
Prideful.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if that's, you mentioned a good thing. We're sending out more communications in a lot different ways now.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not sure if that's capturing all those folks and then sending individual emails, not reply all type emails, and hey, if you're struggling or you can't do this, just click this button and let us know. And
Yeah.
just
And
let us
I
know.
think too, if we're calling it like a grant rather than, like
Sure.
some kind of,
Yeah.
Call it whatever you
you
want.
know, arts grant. So
Yeah.
it's not where click this if you cannot afford it, but instead,
If you
we're
need
offering
an arts
grants for
grant, that's a
students.
great idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
Art's a
think
great
our
idea.
messaging is really, what might get people.
I like that.
This case.
Are any of these instruments going to the strings program?
Yes. The list that we have been putting together are for orchestra and for band. I don't have a specific list targeted just for the strings program, so I'll have to do some research on that, Ms. Case.
And what about the theater and the chorus?
Right. Exactly. And and when I meant that we wanted to start with the ways that we felt like we were already addressing to some degree removal of barriers, and then that will be next. So where are we not? And invite those same principles into the conversation. Like who is not taking full advantage of an opportunity that they wish they could? And is it because of a financial barrier?
But
Mhm.
are there fees in like chorus? My kids have never done chorus. They've done theater, and there's no fees
about
at all.
Right, I
I mean,
think,
typically it's the activity bus. Right?
I
and,
would think
and
there's some uniform or they have special
Uh-huh. When they
clothes or something
perform,
they
right,
wear.
yeah.
I don't know what the name of
And-
it is, but
And I think a lot of those actually are school owned.
Okay,
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure
good.
that they keep sets of those there.
cummerbunds
But we'll
and- but-
continue to ask all those questions.
And then with the with the drama, they got to buy, if they're going to have big plays, they've got to buy costumes and props and whatever. Or I mean,
The
they go
drama
hunt 'em,
department
but-
in general,
right,
you're
it's not,
speaking
I
about.
mean, we're
Mhm.
not running any of these programs just free.
No,
So
no. But I so appreciate this board's commitment to help.
How long have we been doing equity updates?
It's new.
About 8 months,
yeah.
10 months. It
I
started.
would say, yeah, at least 10 or 11 months.
August.
Yeah.
I think
I would-
August we started.
I was just gonna say, I think it's great that it's on our agenda and we discuss it, every month.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a robust conversation with the board members. And Dr. Fry, you're perfect for doing this. And you also said, we're not perfect, and we're not. We're far from it. But the fact that we're discussing this every month, trying to find ways to be creative and make things more equitable for everybody, just says to me, how good the school system is.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely.
Thank you all.
So much.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, Mr. Scott Rhodes. Child Care Services update.
Thank you, sir.
I like that this is on the agenda every month with good news.
Thank you for the opportunity to get out of the hard seats. I appreciate Wendy's had all the opportunities to speak today. Welcome back up here any moment for Mr. Craven.
She's
All right, so
cuter.
we don't want you to feel unwanted. It's a
See,
pleasure.
I think that's okay. All right.
It's a pleasure. to be able to give you a
That's not what
childcare
I meant,
update.
Dr. Fry. I promise you.
See me in HR later. HR director. No, it does give me pleasure to come give you an update on our child care. Our financial projections for the month of May, as we start looking at April's revenues, we had $71,770 with an expenses of $55,970 with an operational profit of $15,799.47.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great news. And then we turn around, we've got another round of operational grant money of another $54,014 in the month of April. Yes, sir.
Before you move on, looking at the revenues and the expenses. So, what was the date that we went to the weekly rates? Is that March?
I think so.
I
think it was March
I would
1st.
not
Was
be
it
able
March
to tell you
1st
off
that
the
we
top of
decided
my
to do
head.
that?
I think
Somewhere
so.
around there,
I think
right?
we
I think it was
decided in
March 1st.
February.
And so, for those last 3 months, we've been profit. We've been in the black.
Yes, sir.
Have we seen a reduction in the amount of students using the services?
No, not necessarily. And I want to commend the board and also Sonia Hall and Stephanie Edney for having the flexibility for our parents to use the emergency child care. So what we've done is we've said to folks, you've got to go ahead and pre-register. But we're also on an allotment ratio. So if there's 1 to 14 and there's space available and you as a parent call and need emergency child care for that day and it's available, you pay a greater cost, but yet you can still have the ability to get child care.
Absolutely.
And so that has also allowed us to have some increased revenue. It's also been a win-win for the parent who doesn't need it every day, but maybe needs it for the week, or not for the week, but just for a day. And so we haven't seen a really decrease in the amount of participation.
Yeah, and that's just what I wanted to say. The whole time I've been talking about this thing, I don't want to. I don't care if we make $1. I just don't want to lose money on the program. I really commend you for tightening it up. I'm not necessarily sure I believed it when we first talked about this a year ago, maybe. And I really appreciate the work that you put into it every month. Because this is awesome, I mean, I want to be able to offer this service. I just can't see us losing hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to offer that service. So.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Craven. And again, I really want to just commend again Dr. Bryant in his previous role and Mr. Socia, because, you know, working with you guys as the board to increase, you know, the amount that's paid each week was really big cheese, you know, because again, you saw where, you know, child care rates hadn't been raised in years. And Dr. Revis can tell you that when she sat in that seat, it wasn't. So I think there's a lot of hard work that's went into this. And so we're really, you know, again, appreciative of just this $54,000 that we got from DHHS. Again, all that money is being used to help get child care in a place where we continue to be profitable. One of the things we want to talk to you just real quick is about the RFQ update. I sent you an email just to kind of give you a little bit of a heads up about what that process was looking like. We talked to you about the need, if it were to arise, that we needed to have an exit ramp, that we've called it, that we would have one. And so what we've done is we had vendor presentations a couple weeks ago, and the YMCA of Western North Carolina, we had Right at School and Champions. We listened to those presentations, two of our principals, Mr. Chad Alton and Dr. Marcy Wilson, along with myself and Mr. Socia. We listened to all those presentations, and we feel really confident that based off those presentations, we have three very viable options to bring to this board if, in fact, the child care proves to not be financially viable in the future. Right now, it's proven itself to be so, which we are extremely excited about. And we were very intentional about our conversations with all three of these vendors to say that we are not looking to award anyone our child care program. But in the instance we were not able to continue financially, then we would reach out to one of you. Now, our recommendation that we would bring to you would be the YMCA, and that is the order in which we felt like we would want to do business. But we are not prepared to go into that in depth because we don't feel like we're in that position right now. But if you ever want more information, I'll be happy to provide that for you. And then one other thing I just want to bring up to your attention that's not on the presentation. You may get questions about Summer Plus. And our Summer Plus is our child care program that we have in the summertime for our students. And in the past, we've had as many as 3 sites available for parents to use. Unfortunately, this year, right now, we only have 1 site that we're going to be opening up Summer Plus.
Okay.
And I want to make it abundantly clear, it is not because we don't want to open up more sites. We would open up another site if we had enough employees. Right now, we have enough employees that we would be able to open up 1 site, and it's going to be at Fletcher Elementary. And that also entails that both of our directors will be working, not in the office, but on site at Fletcher to make that child care program work this summer. Now, we've got jobs posted online. We've got jobs posted on Indeed.com if anybody's looking to be working the child care this summer. We are hoping that we have the opportunity between now and the end of school in the next few weeks, that if we get enough folks to open up another site, we will. But just like other people in the community that you see are looking for job wanted, help wanted, we are as well in our child care program.
Won't PSPM, okay, so it's not going to be a full day service for at least the 6 weeks that we're going to be doing summer school, correct?
It will be a full day service at Fletcher for those students who are
At
there.
Fletcher.
Yes,
And
sir.
then where's Fletcher going to do summer school?
They'll still have their kids there.
It's going to be a
We'll
bit
be
school.
running both. It will look like school at Fletcher. Please don't say that out loud too much, because custodians, as much as they,
Yeah.
are okay with this, it really impacts them in getting that
What they
building
do
ready
for
for
summer.
the next year. It's tough. It's tough on the principal, but I want to give a shout out to Miss Deaver. She's a team player, and everyone there recognizes that this is where we'll be having Summer Plus this year and face those challenges.
So, Mr. Rhodes, even though we are giving bonuses or pretty good rates of pay for summer programming, did we offer that for our child care workers and there's weren't any takers or what?
No, we would love to do that, but the ESSER money, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the reason we can't do that is because it's not COVID related. Like if it were COVID related, then we could, then most definitely we would seek this opportunity to be able to reward these folks for the job that they've been doing. But the Summer Plus program is not the same, and so that's why we're in that position where we
So
can't offer extra money.
offer them
Yeah,
okay,
but
I
that's a
got you.
great question.
What about, because I had never even thought about this till you just brought it up. but our custodians that normally work all summer, now they're working double because there's summer school at their school and then they're trying to get their school ready. Is there any type of a bonus or anything for them?
So any of our employees who are working in support of summer school will be able to receive their daily rate of pay
Okay.
plus the hourly bonus. And so that can get a little bit into the weeds when you start thinking about the plan that we talked about this morning as a leadership team. But just kind of keep it simple, is that anyone who is working to help support summer school, it could be the custodian, it could
Lunch.
be the bookkeeper, it could be the front desk person.
Bus driver.
If their job, the bus driver is going to get an extra, every time they run the bus in the mornings, it's $15 extra. So they have an opportunity if they drive twice in a day to get $30 extra. So anywhere we have the ability to compensate our folks when it's COVID related to summer school, we're going to take advantage of it.
Right.
With this childcare, Scott, anybody from the county could take their kids to Fletcher? Or is it just Fletcher kids?
No, it's anyone in the county had an opportunity. And just so you know how quick this happened.
17
So our
minutes.
child care folks, they sent out information to the people who are already using our child care. So that message went out to them first. It filled up in 17 minutes.
That was
We have a
my
waiting list, and so that's why we're trying to open up another site.
How many kids on the waiting list?
I don't know. A lot, as of just a few days ago.
A lot, like 100 a lot?
I think more in the 70 to 80 range, but it
Wow.
could be over 100 as of now. I'm not sure.
Would
Because
that be
traditionally we've run 3 sites, is that right, or 2?
We have run as many as 3.
As many as 3.
The last couple of years, we ran 2.
Okay.
And we were running it at 2 locations, Fletcher
Right.
and Sugarloaf. But as Mr. Rhodes is saying, we have tried to open for as many students as possible as we could staff. In staffing, it's important to understand the difference between plus and AM and PM is those same people who might have the flexibility to work just in the morning or just in the afternoon. Our PS Plus program is an all-day program, like 6A to 6P. That's a very different staffing commitment that's being made in that respect.
Well, we get creative and we can job share during that time frame and all that kind of business, I think, but
Yeah, I totally. We will do everything within our power to do everything we can to serve
I would
our
like to see if we
families.
could find some way to compensate those
Well,
care workers.
so?
you know,
Are,
you got 2 grants, right? So far this quarter,
Yeah.
right? 2 for 54,000, or just the 1 for 54?
So I will wait on Mr. Socia to give you a financial update of where we are for the year.
Yeah.
And then I
I
think
mean,
you
that's
guys,
$108,000 that
So-
the federal government's given us in grants over the last
Mhm.
6 months, not even counting what they gave us at the beginning of the pandemic to run for emergency workers, doctors, nurses, that whole
Right.
deal that we.
And just something to think about, because I think this is a really helpful conversation that's being brought up. While the ESSER dollars were not available based on the restrictions, the financial position that our child care program is in right now, remember there was a fund balance in excess of $250,000 or otherwise. If this board were to approve the utilization of some of those dollars in order to pay additional or the supplemental dollars that have come in that have addressed the balance sheet, that's a different position that we put in. We certainly have not brought that as a recommendation because we've been paying very close attention to the bottom line as it relates to that. But in terms of eligible dollars, we'd be glad to explore all the options for the board
Well,
to
we need to
consider.
explore that now,
yeah.
because exploring it at the end of end of June is
Right.
it doesn't make any sense.
Parents need that care
So
now.
let's
Yeah.
talk about it. So what
But
if we
can
gave?
I ask a question first?
Sure.
How many kids do you know are in that one site in Fletcher? How many were we able to take?
So it looks like about 80.
Okay, so it might take care of the rest of them to open up another one.
location.
So if we could find a way to offer a $500 sign-on bonus, you have to be there for at least 30 days or work through the summer, whatever, and then increase the pay for those folks this summer. Is that something we could do, Bernie? I mean, we need.
Is it a matter of money to get, or are people just burn out and not interested in working, you think?
So from listening to our directors, a lot of it is folks are just wore out.
Because they were on the front lines
were.
last summer, weren't
were.
they?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's been the feedback that I've received from
Okay.
them is that a lot of our folks are just,
But
they're wore
money,
out. But now,
sometimes money talks.
but
But
that's
we-
your point. I agree that that can be a motivating factor.
But we were doing something with the teachers to come back for summer school, right?
Yes, that's what we're talking
Okay.
That's federal ESSER
ESSER
money, but
money.
we
That's-
could look at this.
That's fine, but that was something extra that we were doing for the
Okay.
teachers to come back for summer school.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sorry I had to step out, but so are we doing anything extra for the childcare workers?
That's what we're
That's what
discussing.
we're
That's-
just talking about.
So Mr. Eagle, if we don't have the flexibility to use the federal ESSER funds to be able to compensate them at an extra higher rate like we're doing the folks who are working the summer school, because it's not allowable, but that's what they're kind of discussing, like, is there any other flexibility that would allow us to pay those folks extra money?
And what I would ask is, with the board's trust and direction, we'll be glad to do that. We'll be glad to look at, again, the available dollars and share that with you, because again, there's not another board meeting until the end of June.
Yes.
We certainly will take the direction from the board if it says, come up with a comparable supplemental pay structure.
Yes.
Then we'd be glad to do so and say, and here would be the dollars that are available to do that,
Yeah,
based on what
Has to
that
be
is.
300 grand sitting there, 300 and some change right now, after the latest 54 grand from the feds.
From a cash perspective, yeah, they do have that. And if we were looking at the way we did the bonuses for childcare previously, those were funds that were given to us specifically for that task when we did the childcare bonuses
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
It wasn't out of their balance that we did it before. It was,
Does that,
yeah.
how many people does it take to run an 80 kid
Oh,
shop?
goodness.
So I believe,
Well, how many does it take to run Fletcher?
right now, in our discussions last week when I met with Sonia and Stephanie, they're looking at having 10 people
So you
at
need
that
10
site
more.
to run it, again, because a lot of that's job sharing, because I can't work the entire day.
Right.
Plus, it's a 10-hour day, so we're not working anyone just straight 10. Plus, it's 5 days a week.
It's
So-
12 hours, right? 6 to 6?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got a 12-hour day where it's
Yeah.
going to take 10 people in effect to be able to run one site.
Bonus them.
I would be more than happy to, first of all, give those folks an extra $500 bonus to work for the summer or more. That's what, there's 10 people you said?
Well,
We do it for the other, I think it would take.
right,
probably
right. I
maybe
think we
20.
need to let
20, so that's 10
these
grand.
guys figure it out. But coming from the board, we're telling you guys to figure it out.
Yeah,
So-
I would like to see them get comparable bonus pay as other summer school staff. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. We could,
At
we could
least,
certainly,
at
again,
least.
with this board's direction and support,
Yep.
we can develop a supplemental pay
Yes.
structure that is
Yes.
comparable to what everybody else is receiving.
And this
Uh,
way these
So,
80
which is
kids will
just
be
really
separate.
ironic right now, but
Right.
really, really ironic. I would like to know what that number is now. If we don't want to talk about other numbers, then
Well, I don't know if they have that answer.
They probably
we
can-
can appropriate whatever that we want to for them to be able to get it done. Say, here's 20 grand, get it done. Here's 30 grand, get it done.
So in our current structure, if you're an hourly employee, that's $10 an hour for
Okay.
every hour that you're working. That's the current supplemental pay structure for a non-certified person. So again, without running the numbers on the number of people that it would take to staff that, that's a hard number for us to estimate without that
12
staffing
hours a
number in
day
front of
times
us.
20 people,
Well, what are we doing extra for the
12 weeks,
summer school?
$10 an hour for non-certified personnel.
$28,000.
Yeah.
It's a little more than 12 weeks. They begin maybe,
Yeah, those are just rudimentary numbers, but I mean, that's
Right.
like 30
The
grand.
30 grand,
If you
I mean-
gave them $10 more a month.
I tell you what we can do for you. We will, if you're giving us the idea of looking into using their fund balance, what Bernie and I can do and work with our leadership team is to come up with a couple different ideas on how we can compensate those folks
Look.
to
look
make
at
sure we bring that to you.
Tony, boy needs
And
a
then we can
raise.
share that with you, not before the next board meeting, but we can share that with you probably within the next week or 10 days. It's going to take us just a little bit of time.
No,
This
it
week's got
will.
a lot going on, but we can get that to you pretty quick.
I think someone's
Your
going to get a
parents
number out
paying
real
for
quick
this-
right now.
for this?
Excuse me?
How much are parents paying for this?
In this case, I don't remember the number off the top of my head.
So
They
we
pay
have
the
that
weekly-
money.
They pay the weekly rate just like they do, but it's like
It's
$135 a
typically
day
been
or
our
a
only
week.
profitable up
Yeah.
until last
so
year.
we've got some money
We
there.
have money, but what we just got 54 grand in the form of a grant. Use it.
Yep.
Hire people, get another site, bonus these folks. They've been on the front line. You know, I've been on you guys about this for 4 or 5 years. But I am all about not spending all the money and not. I don't want to care if we make 17,000. I think that's too much. If we're making 17,000, it needs to be pretty even on how much we're taking in revenue and how much we're spending on expense side. But if we got 54 grand given to us by the government,
That's what I'm talking about, fund balance. Should be able to use that.
Why don't we
54
just
grand.
let them
it's the
work
54
on it
grand.
and then get
Should
back
knock it
with
out.
us?
Well, I think
Did you-
the time is the
the
issue
problem is
right
you got
now.
14
That's
days
what I'm
until
saying,
school
but
ends.
that's what,
Yeah.
And
that's
we've
what I'm
got to
saying.
get-
Let them figure it out,
Yeah.
then get back with you, and then Blair, you give it to us in the next whatever days y'all can get it done.
Figure it out. Let's get it
Yeah,
done.
and get
Because
the,
they can't
I
give us
mean,
the figures.
We need
It-
to do it
off their
quickly in
head.
order to make that outreach too.
Because parents have to know what they're
How
doing.
And it
old do
pains
people
me.
have to be to actually work for the school system to actually do like the PS?
Got to be a graduated high school.
You have to graduate.
There's
high
other,
school.
yeah, but there's all, you got to be CPR
still have to be 18 though.
certified.
Background checks.
Yeah,
and
there's
the
a
whole
lot of,
thing, right.
there's a lot of, that goes into just before we can hire
yeah.
someone.
Well, I didn't think it was like a good summer job for a kid coming back from college or whatever to come and,
So not
Maybe.
to expand on this conversation, but here's what I would say to you, right? Because I've been really hesitant because I don't want to be like George H.W. Bush flying in on the airplane on the aircraft carrier declaring victory yet, right?
mission accomplished.
I say that to say this. Although I understand that we don't want to be making a lot of money, I do believe that we need to put ourselves financially in a position where we can look at starting to raise the rates of our child care employees, because the reason why we were able to open 3 sites in the past is because people could make a good wage in the summer for a summer job.
They can go to Chick-fil-A
Because
for
those wages
15
have
bucks
stayed
an
the
hour.
same for years. That's one of the lack of incentives to get people to work.
Absolutely.
So if our program continues to do well and we continue to make, we will reinvest. And being able to reinvest that will continue to make that child care program even more healthy. So give us just an opportunity to sit down and look at $54,000, see what we can play into that budget,
Yeah.
how we can make that go the longest and the furthest to help us secure employees.
And then figure out also what's your margin that you need to make so that we can increase those wages. So, for example, the net revenue, the net margin this month is about 20%, a little over 20%. What does that need to be if you want to give a dollar raise or whatever that is, so that we don't run into the issue again that we're, again, spending more money than we make?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does.
How long does it take to be CPR certified? Could we host, is that like an 8-hour day? Do you know?
I think it's like a couple of hours and you
I
just
don't.
knock it out.
Because, I mean, we could host
look into it.
something
Eighth
for,
graders do it?
Typically,
Our
exactly.
eighth graders do, right?
Yeah,
it
I mean,
depends.
I
It
did
depends if
it.
they've ever
It's-
had CPR certification before, or if it's a refresher, or And then it also, the big issue is getting that background check, because
Yes.
he
Yep.
has to go to
that's the big one.
DHS and come back.
That's the big
Yep,
That's the big issue before they can start working.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I can tell you, just being in charge of childcare, I have jumped through more hoops
Oh,
to be fully licensed to just run childcare. Like, it's amazing what you have to go through. So that hiring process, it will take a little bit of time.
Now, aren't there some child care programs in Henderson County? I don't think Immaculata I don't think we had summer care there, and like Montessori schools and other, pre-K programs, are any of the, maybe some of those folks could be available. I don't know.
We were going to try to figure out an incentive to get as many people as we can, and hopefully that will be an answer to some of our problems. And we'll also be able to take care of our folks who have been really working hard on the front line. So
Yeah, that would
thank
be
you for
nice.
supporting that.
Oh,
That's, I know, is very appreciative.
thank you, Scott.
All right, thank you guys.
We got to get Bernie a new pencil and
Yeah,
new pad.
what that
We just
that
wore.
He burned a
pen
hole
ran
in
out of
it.
ink.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Social's a wizard. You guys realize that.
I know
He
that.
is- he is capable. But again, tremendous credit to Mr. Rhodes, to Stephanie Hall, or Sonia Hall and Stephanie Jones-Edney and their entire team. And we appreciate that level of advocacy. And we hear you loud and clear in terms of the urgency with which we can advocate in that same way. A real credit to that opportunity. In short, I'm only up here right now to remind you once again, we graduate on May the 28th. We graduate in person on May the 28th. And when you think about what that means for us across the board, please pay special attention that those graduation times are different by school site. We're going to be watching the weather at our outdoor locations and hope that it complies. Just as we see a day like today, that's a more perfect scenario. But those folks who have served in a high school administrative role know that that is a very stressful week. When you're staring at if you're planning to be in a stadium outside, you're having to pay very close attention to what the weather looks like. Each of those folks is going to be intending to graduate on Friday night, if at all possible. Each of them have plans for Saturday morning or Saturday early afternoon alt plans if they're necessary, if we have to work in that space. And 2 of our schools are planning to graduate indoors. Hendersonville High School and the Innovative High Schools are scheduled as indoors, so you can expect that those will occur on that night. But again, we are proud to celebrate our seniors. We're proud to honor our seniors. We're proud to share with them something that last year's seniors didn't get.
Yeah.
And we are really looking forward to those events and glad to answer any questions that you might have about any of them.
Are they going to be able to keep masks off when they're outside?
Outside, yes.
That
yes,
is
ma'am,
great.
But not inside.
Right.
That's one of the immediate questions that we get. So if you are in an outdoor event, in an outdoor activity, that's permissible on those locations, but the inside face coverings are required.
Exciting for them.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions about that? I'm going to bring the wizard back up here, Mr.
Wait,
Sosha. Yes, sir.
real quick.
Mhm.
In my phone, I have the retiree dinner at 5 to 7:30. Here you have 5:30 to 7, which I'm sure I put it in wrong.
I'm sure you did.
But who would be the dummy that didn't ask?
I'm going to
Exactly.
affirm that
Me.
what is on the general operation sheet, and I'll look over at Kathy
I'm
Jones.
writing down what-
5:30 is the time. Yes.
Came from her. It was
5:30,
the right.
Exactly.
That's the right time.
You just look in the direction I look, which is I just look
I'm
over
looking
this one and say,
5:30
what
to
time's it
7.
going to be? 5:30.
And the lunch is at noon.
Yeah.
It is. And I'll talk about those in general operations. Just a couple of things. Yep. Mr. Sosha.
Wait for the click. Welcome back.
5:30.
Heart attack in there.
Okay. To present for you this evening, the financial reports. The first one is local current expense and other restricted funds. We now have revenues totaling almost $30.5 million, and our expenditures are just shy of $21 million. Before we get too excited, we remember that we aren't getting any more money this year. We will now spend that down, but we are in a very good position, as we've talked about before, to get us through the rest of the year. Our local expenses upticked a little bit with using up all of the state dollars, but then we will pay our local supplement in June, which will run about $5 million of that dollars to pay June. But as I said, we're looking very good to finish the year out with our local budget. The other one is our enterprise funds. We were just beginning to talk about a little bit. I'll start with the child nutrition program. Revenues are $4,155,000 and expenditures are at $4,227,000. And I'm going to switch here so I can compare. So that deficit is $71,000 for the year. 2 things I want to point out is that the last quarter we were $261,000. So we are much better off, and we had at one point projected to be about $700,000 in the red at the end of the year. So we are doing very well, all things considered, with the way operations have been this year.
So explain to us, the USDA has again expanded for another year that
Yes.
they are essentially going to pay for everyone to eat at breakfast and lunch, right? So can you
Correct.
talk to us about that and how does that impact these enterprise funds?
So what that will look like, again, next year is if you're looking at that report, that second line there that says local sources sales will be virtually non-existent. And
It's just ice creams.
it is just those
Pizza.
extra things. Yes, exactly. It's the a la carte items that
Half my kids.
students or the staff may purchase when they go down. So that's why that's such a small number. It all comes into that USDA reimbursement, which they will establish the rates that we will get, and they're a little bit different depending on where we are and when we're operating, that they give us a per meal amount that they're going to reimburse us for. So we will be dependent upon that and to try and operate within those means next year.
Sell that stuff? They can't sell that stuff now? Is that right? Am I understanding that right? That you're not selling that?
No, every kid is able to receive a free meal breakfast. and
Right,
lunch,
but I'm
so,
talking about the other stuff, the supplemental stuff.
Yeah, we can sell that, right?
We've been selling some supplemental, not
Not a lot.
very much because everyone's on the free side.
Are we-
Some students that want 2 meals.
Are we doing the second breakfasts again and everything, or is that what we called
Second
it?
chance, second chance breakfast.
I don't
Right.
know
Most
that
of what we've been doing is because universal breakfast is there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
less of that. The second chance is something we fully intend to do moving forward whenever we're on a normal
To
operation.
capture all of those, right?
Yes, sir.
It kind of threw a whole monkey wrench in that whole plan.
Right, we were right there
Yeah.
a little over a year ago.
But so they are not going to reimburse us as much as we're going to spend, though. That's what it's looking like, right?
That's the way it had been. Now that we are back in person, our numbers are showing that we're breaking even now, which we did not expect to do, because the reimbursements weren't as high before. But now that everyone's back in, Robert has really sort of been able to navigate the waters of what this looks like, and he's kept his costs down so that we are coming close to even.
But is the summer going to blow this out? Because we've got, we're going to have all of our child nutrition workers working, right? For the most part, you've got kids coming in for summer school.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing our feeding sites this year? We're not. We're doing some feeding sites.
We're operating
right?
some feeding sites.
Some feeding sites. So, there's going to be more salaries and benefits that we're going to be paying, right?
Yes, but the thing that will help us this summer is that the more kids we have participating, then it helps pay for the workers that the work. We need to get those meals reimbursed so that we can then pay for the people that are working. They're going to work anyway.
They're going to work anyway. But how many? So we don't know how many kids are coming for summer school yet, though.
Not yet. We've just started sending out our invitations for summer school and built our staffing profile, so we'll know that in the coming weeks.
Okay.
Some sites, how many and where?
I don't know which exact sites Robert has planned to do. I know he has them out there. I'm just not sure off the top of my head which locations he's going to be delivering
With the
to.
bus or with pickup, or how are they doing it?
I believe the bus is scheduled to run, and you haven't heard otherwise.
That's
Yeah.
a little bit of both. So we'll be doing meals on the bus. We'll be doing summer feeding locations in designated areas, and we'll actually be running meal service at every location.
And probably a lot of our kids attending summer school would have been in that.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And that is one thing that I would say that we probably have, we'll call it maybe an advantage of for our program, is that we do have all our sites open.
Yeah.
Other districts are operating at specific locations for summer school, so they're would be in a different situation. But we're open. The child care program, they are. Give me a switch here. Revenues at $685,000 and expenditures at $695,000. Getting close, just $10,000 in the red. We were over 36,000 in the red the last quarter, so we're definitely showing the signs of improvement. And as you mentioned, we've received those grants that have certainly contributed a lot to that position. And we'll, like I said, we will give you some numbers.
Is that 54,000 in here already?
Not all of it, no, sir.
They didn't all
Because
come
this
in
only
once?
goes through the end of March.
And they're paying you monthly.
They pay whenever it seems to drop in.
When they want, they're the government.
Well, because it messes up his accounting. Because,
Right, they
it's gonna
announce-
go the year ends June 30th, and then. I mean,
Right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, they made the announcement we're going to get it, and one day it shows up. That's unfortunately how it operates.
Okay. You're like, sweet. Okay.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
No more
Thank you
questions.
very much.
Anybody else? Thank you, sir. General operations.
Yes, and last but not least, general operations, and appreciate the segue. We have a big week this week. This is a pretty exciting week for us. We're going to be recognizing our Teachers of the Year at each of our individual schools, recognizing the Henderson County Teacher of the Year, which is a pretty special honor across the board. That's happening in person at Jeter Mountain Farm this Thursday at 12 o'clock. Each of you hopefully will be in attendance and an opportunity to really celebrate I mean, to be Teacher of the Year in this year is something pretty special across the board. So we look forward to recognizing those folks. We also are going to be recognizing our retirees in a new way. A tremendous credit to Mr. Rhodes and his team of folks for thinking about how we can create that same level of true appreciation that we offer to our Teacher of the Year, to the men and women who are retiring from service with the school system. That's going to be happening that very same night at the very same location. And if you remember, Jeter Mountain Farm is where the Henderson County Education Foundation was 2 years ago, which is an awesome venue. It's a really awesome venue, kind of an indoor-outdoor space that really is going to allow for us to celebrate those folks in a special way. So we look forward to Thursday. Wednesday of this week, we'll also have the last of our SGA meetings where we meet with our SGA leaders and our newly elected SGA leaders across the school system. I just want to share as part of this, we've had such powerful conversations with our Superintendent's Teachers Advisory Council and our Superintendent's Parents Advisory Council throughout these last several months, and our SGA leaders have been a critical part of that. So much of what we talk about and we share with you when we talk about, so where's that feedback come from, is representation from every school, from the students, from the staff, from the parents, and making sure that they have that voice and have an opportunity to share that. And so we're excited to be able to recognize those kids. That's actually an in-person event as well for our SGA students. That happens at Jackson Park on Wednesday of this week. May 20th, next week, is our Top Scholars Banquet. And unlike in years past, where that has historically happened at Bo Thomas Auditorium or in the Tech Center at Blue Ridge Community College, this is now going to be at several different locations: Bo Thomas, Eddie Renaud Gymnasium, Hendersonville High School Auditorium, the barn at Tall Oaks, French Broad Baptist Church, and then the Hendersonville Auditorium as well. So again, recognizing our kids in those spaces, look forward to honoring the top 15 students from each of our spaces.
Where's the barn at Tall Oaks?
That's a great question. I will MapQuest that in order to find out.
It's off
Does
of
anybody remember
191.
MapQuest? Right, yeah, before.
Oh, the one
Really
that
nice.
they had a lot of. Yes. Okay. I know exactly where you're at.
If you'll look over your shoulder, you'll look where I look all the time and get the answers that you need.
Where is
Right,
that
where is
again?
that? There you go. Exactly. Where are we supposed to go next? Where are we going next? Right. Oh, we do that work.
Top scholar. You're not going to be at your son's top scholar thing? Because it says you're going to be at West.
Yeah, it's a top 15 GPA.
Right. Yeah, but his son is a top scholar, and he's not going to be there. He's going to be at West.
Miss Bridges, would you like to go to West Henderson?
I would go to West. I'll change it.
Okay, perfect.
I'm gonna be in Florida.
Are you
I was actually
no.
wondering about that, but
All right, Dr. Evers, you go to West. You're going to Hendersonville. Done.
Dr. Revis, Jace has just added you to his Christmas card list. There you go.
I don't know. Jason might be preferably go to West. I don't know.
The 28th, again, high school graduations, last day for student on the 28th. And then, of course, we have the Memorial Day holiday. And then we're back together again for our end of year business meeting. Closed session at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock for our regularly scheduled session. Want to note, again, that's a change from previous years. Normally, we would have a meeting early in June. This one meeting is, we are required to have a board meeting on the last business day of the year in order to close everything out, to approve our interim budget moving forward. And so it's important that everybody understand that that is different than second Monday of the month. We're going to be meeting in closed session and open session on
Let
the
me
last
speak
day.
to that
Yes,
really
sir.
quick. And so I just didn't feel that we needed to have a 15th or 14th meeting and a meeting 2 weeks after saying the same thing. It's usually like a 15-minute meeting to get out of here. We still do not plan on having a July board meeting.
That's correct.
And so
We may be looking at a workshop in July for ESSER 3.
we
Yes,
could
sir.
be doing a workshop, so keep that open in July. So we won't have another board meeting for whatever that is, 6 weeks, 7 weeks. We will probably have a workshop for the ESSER money in
That'd be
July.
nice.
And then we'll have our next board meeting August 8th, 10th, whatever that is. Kathy will tell me. Stephanie will tell me.
That's right. Stephanie will let you know. And we've got some dates we'll send you as tentative hold for the workshop in July,
Okay,
so
cool.
that everybody can have those on their calendar. One note, if I could, under general operations.
We used to have a meeting June 14th, but now we canceled that meeting and just have it end of the year, and that's going to be a big meeting. It's going to be a lot. But I'd rather do one than two.
So June 30th is.
June 30th, the
Yes.
end of the year meeting. We have to have that by law. Okay.
There had been much discussion recently about calendar flexibility. You may have noted that our House bill, the one sponsored by our Representative Tim Moffitt, which specifically related to Henderson County, Transylvania County, Polk County, and otherwise, passed the House. However, there's been much information that's been released that those bills will not be taken up for action for the to affect the upcoming school year. So this board just needs to give consideration to the fact that our families need to know, and we get asked all the time, how late would we change if the legislation were to be passed or were to be considered? I might ask this board to consider not changing that if nothing changed while this school year were still in session.
Yep.
So unless something happens by May the 28th, that our calendar is set for next year, because our families need to plan accordingly.
Agreed.
We need to plan accordingly. And again, while a lot of people started asking questions of us as soon as that passage went over to the Senate, by all indications, that was the 13th bill, calendar flexibility bill, that has been passed and moved
All
across
died in the vine.
and they are not necessarily expected to be taken up for approval on the other side of the aisle.
I think we can just go ahead and say it now. The calendar that we approved is the calendar that's going to happen for 21-22, because it's not going to change in 3 weeks. Then we would have to bring this board back to change that calendar, to vote to change that calendar in the next couple of weeks, even if the Senate did something. But Tim Berger, or not Berger, has said he has no desire whatsoever to change it. So. Phil Berger, yeah. So
with
I'd
that in
say
mind-
you leave that calendar. It is what we approved, and that's going to be our calendar
Absolutely.
for 21-22.
Okay. Well, we will make that
Same.
part of our
Yes.
Thursday communications to our families as part of our R2L update. We'll make that part of our communications moving forward, and we'll remind folks that those dates are set and the calendars that have been approved are the ones that we're operating with.
Can you just tell me, like, in 15 seconds, is it the summer vacation people? Is it I mean, I just don't understand why, if we had the camps on our side, why they wouldn't do, not a statewide, just county.
I don't think it's just the camps. I think it has a lot to do with tourism industry, which
Okay,
it's a huge industry, especially down the coast.
okay, well, but just
Henderson
relating to Henderson County and Polk County, the regional bill that was put forth by Moffitt, what can we do? Because I feel strongly that this is, we all feel strongly
Yep.
that going back in January for 2 weeks and then taking exams is the wrong way to go. You don't line up with the community colleges. So who has the problem?
Bill Berger.
No, but is it the tour? Do we need to talk to other people? Because we talked at the camps. I sat in your office or somebody's office, and we talked to the camps. Camps are okay with it. Who else can we talk to say, hey, it's okay?
I think that'd be just a great question for us to ask our legislative leaders, because we don't know. We thought we had cleared those paths.
Yeah.
We had those conversations. We got support from those folks. It has, for the last decade, just never been even considered. And so I don't know that there's an easy way to answer the why, other than to say, is there somebody else we need to be talking to?
Do we talk to Chuck?
Well,
Because he's in the Senate.
I've
I'm
talked-
texting
I've
him right
talked to
now.
Senator Edwards multiple times about this specifics, and he agrees that our calendar needs to line up with the community colleges, and we need to end before Christmas break. He agrees with the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think there is one person, and one person only in the Senate, that decides what gets put on that Senate floor. It doesn't matter what the rest of them think.
But
And his name is Phil Berger.
Shame
Have we
on
asked
Phil
Chuck
Berger.
what's the next step? What can we do next?
We would be glad to ask them, because I know that each of them have demonstrated an audience to want to represent us well. And so whether that be Senator Edwards or Representative Moffitt or Representative Johnson, that we say to them, like, what is it that we
I
can
mean, I
do?
just don't. The Republicans, and I don't mean to get political, but it seems like Republicans want local rule. They typically want to bring down. They want the counties to rule. They don't like statewide mandates. They don't like nationwide mandates. But so this seems to fly in the face of nationwide, and Berger's the dang Republican. So why can't the counties? I mean, I want Chuck to ask him what is up. Anyway, I'm done.
I'll take him. Yep.
let's go back to the teacher bonus thing. We didn't
Let's go.
discuss that today, and we need to
Do it.
discuss that because
Sure.
we've had lots of input with that. And
You're talking about the ESSER funds?
yes, the
Yes, ma'am.
$2,000.
Our SRS application for ESSER 2 funds was submitted on May the 7th, and very excited. The work of Dr. Fry's team, Mr. Socha's team, and again, we applaud the work that goes into that because it was no small task, as you
Right.
remember. It included 3 primary components, just as we presented to this board. First of those components is the summer school operational piece, which essentially allows us to operate summer school as we presented. The second of those pieces was the consideration for large capital investment that helps with health and safety needs across the system. We talked HVAC, we talked about building envelope, we talked about window replacement, fresh air circulation. The third piece that was included in our application was the retention bonus paid to all full-time and part-time employee groups. And just as we shared, that's our initial submission of that. Nothing happens now other than it's reviewed and then considered, can be considered for approval. Once we receive that, this board will have the ability to talk further about that moving forward. And so right now, those are in our application, the one that we submitted. And that was $2,000 for every full-time employee, $1,000 for every part-time employee, just as we drafted in that time. And so again, that's where the placeholder is in the submission, and this board retains the ability to have continued discussion around that before that ever gets paid. Because of course, we'd need to share with you more details about the criteria, the eligibility, how we'd manage that, but we had to submit the basic parameters of our grant.
And do you know the timeline for them approving?
We
that
don't.
application?
We don't. We expect pretty quickly because folks need to draw that money down really, really quickly. And I can say the representative who's working from the state level with us has been awesome. She has been so attentive. We know that she's already read our grant. We know that they're spending time with it right now. So we hope to know that as soon as possible. We'll definitely let you know when we receive approval.
My concern is if we're talking about retention bonuses, I would like for us, the board, to make a decision quicker rather than later so that people know, this is the time during the summer when people start putting feelers out,
Yes,
even
ma'am.
earlier. And so if it's a true retention bonus, I think that's something we need to make a decision on pretty quickly, pretty darn
Well,
quickly.
right now it is in the application,
Okay.
exactly as presented to the board.
That's good.
So we'll hear from you when you get that back, and then the teachers will know that it's been
We'll let
passed,
you know when the
hopefully.
application has been approved. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay.
So right now, as long as it's approved, we have every intention of giving those bonuses out.
That's correct.
Great.
That's how that is how the grant has been submitted.
But I know that we had some discussion about, well, maybe not, maybe yes, maybe no. I think we need to let our folks know yes or no definitively.
Yeah, I heard a yes.
I would welcome that direction. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the grant application. It's in there. If it gets approved, then that's what's in the application. That's what we're
And
gonna
we
do.
have no intention of fooling with that or changing that.
I don't think we could.
Well,
I think you could. I think, like he said in the meeting before, it's a placeholder. I mean, clearly, my comments weren't popular on not giving a retention bonus, and I do believe that every teacher deserves a bonus. But I do think it's my job, my fiduciary responsibility, to look at all the options that we have on the table. I didn't anticipate the people that would be affected by it would be happy with that, but whatever.
Well, I make a motion that we vote on it, that if it comes through with the thing we've sent in, then we give it to the teachers and to the support staff.
part-time and full-time staff, just like you explained it to us. Yes,
We don't,
I-
hold on, we
Well-
don't need a motion on it because it's a grant that's already been put.
And
been
as I
approved.
understand, Dr. Bryant's going to be bringing back the specifics of
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
And so that there will be action taken.
So
at
by
a
the
subsequent
June
time,
30th,
Right?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Okay.
We'll need to clarify all the criteria because
Right.
that was not part of the grant submission.
Right,
That's
because
correct.
right now it's not clear exactly who is going to receive it. You're going to have
we
some.
will have that information by the June 30th meeting.
We
should,
would
I
expect
mean-
to. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And then we can have a robust discussion on the actual dollar figures and amounts at that particular time, whoever's eligible, so on and so forth.
Certainly. Yes, sir.
Mr. Bridges, did you have something?
I'd like permission to approach the podium
Sure.
at the end of the meeting.
To do what? I'm sorry.
Approach the podium,
Oh,
Okay.
please.
Okay, I
Sure.
take back my motion, but I want those teachers and those support staff to get it.
Sure.
As a new board member, I'd like to thank Mr. Craven and the other board members for getting us through this past 5 or 6 months.
Thank you.
You just don't know how impressed I am with the administration of Henderson County Schools and their leadership throughout this entire year. What a year it's been. And I think our general public, our general community need to be made aware of the efforts that our administration has put in to get through this school year with the COVID and all the other problems that we've had. And I just applaud Dr. Bryant and his staff for getting us through this entire year. And I'd like to thank our board members to get our new board members acclimated to this situation. And just, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hear,
I
hear.
appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And on that note, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I
Take a
will-
motion to adjourn.